Have you ever noticed this strange, almost mystical paradox? The more you give, the more available you become. The more desperately you try to hold his attention, the faster it slips through your fingers. You turn yourself into an open book, and suddenly he loses interest in reading. You become a constant, reliable presence, and he starts to see you as part of the background, an integral but unnoticed piece of the decor. It's a brutal, silent irony that has broken more hearts than any betrayal. Because deep down, you're doing everything right, you love, you care, you are there. But somehow, this is the very thing that creates the icy distance you so desperately try to close with your warmth. But what if I told you that everything you've been taught about closeness is an incomplete and at times destructive truth? What? If true, relentless magnetism is born not from constant presence, but from correct, conscious absence? This isn't a game, a manipulation, or a cold calculation. It is a profound psychological law, what Carl Jung would call the alchemy of the soul, a sacred process of transformation. This is the Boomerang Effect, the very principle that states, to truly draw something to you, with a force that transcends time, you must first let it go. Not with anger, not with resentment, but with a sovereign, queenly confidence that changes the very gravitational field around you. This knowledge is unsettling. It runs contrary to everything we've been told since childhood. Fight for love. Show your feelings. Be there no matter what. But that is precisely why it works. Because when you begin to distance yourself correctly, you don't just disappear from his radar. You appear on an entirely new one, the radar of his soul, his unconscious. And he begins to want to be closer, not because you are calling him, but because the silence you've left behind reminds him, like a tolling bell, of what he has lost. Or, more importantly, of what he never truly saw while you were too close to. Available, too understood. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share isn't a set of techniques. It's a map to your own center, to your inner throne, a journey after which he won't just want to be closer. He will feel that without your world, his own is gray, incomplete, and devoid of meaning. And this isn't magic. This is psychology at its deepest, most archetypal level. Let's be brutally honest. The very idea of distancing is terrifying. It shakes you to your core. It's scary because in our minds, it's firmly linked to manipulation, to toxic games of cat and mouse, to a cruel coldness. We've been taught to think it means, just ignore him. Don't answer his texts for hours to show how busy you are. Make him jealous by posting a photo with someone else. But these are all cheap, shallow tricks of the ego. They might get you a short-term result, a spike of his adrenaline, a sting to his pride, but they will never create the deep, almost mystical pull you're talking about. Because they come from a place of lack, from a desperate desire to control, not from a place of inner fullness and strength. They are like counterfeit money. They look the part, but they hold no real value and ultimately lead only to disappointment. Correct. Distancing is not a tactic. It is a state of being. It's not what you do. It's who you become. Carl Jung taught that our psyche irresistibly strives for wholeness, for individuation, the process of becoming oneself. And too often, we as women try to achieve this wholeness through another person, projecting our expectations onto him and dissolving into him. You become his source of warmth, acceptance, and emotional stability. You fill his inner voids. You become the mirror in which he sees his best qualities, his significance. In Jungian terms, you become the perfect screen for the projection of his anima, his inner, unconscious, idealized image of the feminine. And as long as you dutifully play this role, everything seems stable, but it's an illusion. Because he's not in love with you, the living, complex, multifaceted you. He is in love with the function you perform. He loves not you, but his own comfortable reflection in you. And this is where the real alchemy begins. Correct distancing is when you, consciously, quietly, and without drama, take back that projection screen. You stop being a function. You stop being a 24/7 emotional support service. You stop being a predictable source of energy that can be switched on at any moment. You don't do this to punish him. You do this to reclaim yourself. And what happens? In his reality at that moment, a vacuum is formed. A ringing emptiness where your constant, warm, lulling presence used to be. And it is this very emptiness, this sudden chill, that forces him to truly see you for the first time. Before, he looked at you and saw a reflection of his own needs, his desires, his comfort. Now he looks into that void and for the first time recognizes the distinct outline of what he has lost. He starts to miss not the convenience you provided, not the dinner and the clean shirt. He starts to miss the very essence of you, your energy, which he never valued because it was always in abundance. This isn't coldness. It is energetic hygiene. This isn't a game. It is a return to your sacred center. You are not pushing him away. You are simply ceasing to pull toward him, breaking the familiar laws of gravity in your relationship. You are re-establishing your own powerful center of gravity. And like a planet that has found its true mass, you begin to attract, not chase. This process is painful, yes, because it requires you to come face to face with your own greatest fear. Fear of being abandoned, the fear of silence, the fear of non-existence. But it is by walking through this fear that you acquire the very power that drives men wild. The power of a woman who is totally self-sufficient. And there is nothing more magnetic and simultaneously terrifying to a man than a woman who is perfectly happy without him, but consciously chooses to be with him. It is a choice born of fullness, not of need. And that changes everything. Imagine a room where the light was always on. You were that light. Soft, warm, constant. You illuminated the corners, created a sense of comfort, and chased away the shadows of his fears and insecurities. He grew so accustomed to this light that he stopped noticing it. He simply used it to see his own things, his own paths, his own desires. The light was a given. But one day, you didn't switch it off with a crash and a scandal. You didn't smash the bulb in a fit of rage. You simply took your lamp and walked into another room of your vast house, the one where you're forgotten. Dreams, your books, and your passions are stored. You left to read your own story, and in his room, a thick twilight descended. At first, a mild confusion. Where did the light go? Then, a growing discomfort. He starts bumping into the sharp corners of furniture he never noticed before. He can't find what he needs. Everything feels gray, unwelcoming, alien. And it is then, in that cold gloom, that he starts thinking not about the light as a phenomenon, but about that specific lamp, about its warmth, about its unique shape, about the hands that held it. He begins to value not just abstract brightness, but its concrete, living source. This is the boomerang effect in action. Your correct distancing is not a retreat into darkness to spite him. It is a retreat into your own brightly lit room, into your own rich world. You stop being just energy for him and start being energy for yourself. You fill your life with such a thick, rich meaning that it is completely independent of his presence. You don't just go to the art exhibit he didn't want to see. You immerse yourself in the art. You feel it. You write about it in your journal. You don't just meet up with friends. You create a circle of strength, a supportive female community where you share wisdom, not gossip. You don't just dive into your work or a hobby. You set bold goals. You achieve mastery. You burn with such passion for your craft that you forget about time and your phone. You don't just have dinner alone. You turn it into a ritual. beautiful dishes, candles, delicious food. You learn to enjoy your own company because it has become genuinely valuable and interesting to you. You start taking care of your body, not to please him, but out of love for yourself. Yoga, dancing, long walks your body is no longer an object of desire, but a temple for your soul. And this is where the fundamental paradigm shift occurs. Before, your value in his eyes was determined by your availability to him. Now, your value is determined by your total absorption in yourself. He sees that your world doesn't just revolve around him. It is vast, interesting, and self-sustaining. And this is both terrifying and mesmerizing. Jung spoke of the shadow, those parts of our personality that we suppress and refuse to acknowledge. His shadow is perhaps his deep-seated fear of loneliness, his hidden insecurity, his childlike dependence on your approval and care. As long as you were there, you covered his shadow with your love like a warm blanket. He didn't have to look at it. But when you distance yourself, you take that blanket away, and he is left alone with his inner demons in the cold twilight of his own soul. He is forced to grow up. He is forced to find his own source of light. And in the process of this painful but necessary search, he inevitably arrives at the question, and where is the one who is my light? But now his question sounds completely different. Not where is my convenient, familiar lamp, but who is this mysterious woman who has her own alluring, unquenchable fire? He starts wanting not just your warmth. He starts wanting your world. He wants to be invited into that very room where you are reading your book, because he intuitively feels that this is where real, authentic life is happening. This is no longer a game of push and pull. It is the evolution of a relationship to a completely different level. A level where two halves are not desperately trying to become a whole, but where two whole, shining worlds meet to endlessly enrich one another. And this transition is only possible through your courage to be alone, through your bravery to distance yourself, not to get him back, but to find yourself. And his return is just a pleasant, inevitable side effect of this great inner journey. But let's not deceive ourselves. This path is paved not with rose petals, but with the shards of your own fears. The very moment you decide to take that first step back, a storm will rise within you. A tsunami of doubts and panic, the fear of losing him forever. An icy, piercing voice of panic will scream in your head 24/7. What if he doesn't come back? What if he takes this as indifference and leaves? What if he finds someone else, someone more available, simpler, more compliant? What if this is the end, and you caused it yourself? This fear is not just your fear. It is the collective ancestral fear of all the generations of women who were taught for centuries that their primary value and purpose was to keep a man at any cost. The overwhelming guilt. You will feel like a monster, a selfish beast, a betrayer. The inner critic will whisper, how can you think of yourself when he might need you? You're going to hurt him with your silence, your distance. Good women don't do that. This guilt is the most powerful and insidious control mechanism that society and your upbringing have hardwired into you to keep you on a short leash of service. Existential loneliness. The silence that forms after you step back will, at first, feel unbearable, deafening. You are used to filling every free moment with thoughts of him, analyzing his words, waiting for his call, planning your next meeting. Now, that silence will ring with emptiness, and the temptation to break it, to text him some insignificant nonsense, to call just to hear his voice, will be immense, almost physically irresistible. It is at this point, in the epicenter of this internal storm, that most women break. They cannot stand the pressure and revert to their old familiar patterns of behavior just to stop this inner torture. But as Jung would say, it is precisely in the confrontation with the shadow, with our greatest fears, that true transformation occurs. You need to understand, this pain is not a sign that you are doing something wrong. It is the pain of growth. It is the withdrawal from an addiction to someone else's approval. What happens when you find the strength to withstand this storm? You begin to realize that your fear of losing him is actually the fear of losing the part of yourself that was defined through him. And when you allow this fear to exist without fighting it, it gradually loses its power. You discover, with surprise, that even if he doesn't return, the world will not end. You will not die. You will remain. And you start to like this strong, whole, self-sufficient version, much more than the anxious version of the past. Guilt, slowly but surely, transforms into a deep sense of responsibility. Responsibility not for his emotions, but for your own. You realize that your primary task in this life is not to make him happy, but to be happy yourself. And only from this state of inner fullness can you share a genuine joy, not a joy born of sacrifice. And the deafening, painful loneliness transforms into a blessed, fertile solitude. In the silence, you begin to hear not the absence of his voice, but your own, the deep, wise, long-forgotten voice of your soul. You get to know yourself all over again. You discover interests, desires, and dreams within you that were buried under a thick layer of compromises and the word we. This is correct distancing. It's not about him. It's about you. You are not moving away from him. You are coming home to yourself. And the paradox is that the moment you truly come home to yourself, he feels an irresistible urge to come to you. Because you have stopped being just a woman. You have become a world, a mysterious, alluring, self-sufficient world to which he desperately wants an invitation. He sees that you do not need him to survive, and that is precisely why he begins to desperately need you to truly live. Now, let's put on his shoes and watch this process through his eyes. What does he feel when the boomerang of your energy, which he was used to launching away from himself, suddenly changes its trajectory and begins its powerful return? Stage 1. Confusion and denial. His familiar world is shaken. The source of constant validation and warmth has suddenly run dry. He texts you the usual, "Hey, how are you?" And you don't reply immediately. And when you do, your response is calm and friendly, but it lacks the former desperate need and emojis. He calls, and you say you're busy and will call back later. And you do call back, but without that tremor of excitement in your voice. Your energy has changed. It's no longer clingy and pleading. It's become smooth, dense, and calm. His first thought, she's just busy, or she's having a bad day. Everything will be back to normal tomorrow. Stage 2. Annoyance and an ego bruise. A day passes, then another, and normal doesn't return. And his confusion gives way to irritation. How dare she? Who does she think she is to act like this? After everything I've done for her. He might try to guilt trip you. I thought we were close, but I guess you don't care. Provoke jealousy. By the way, I ran into Jessica yesterday. She looks great. Or create a little drama to pull you back into your familiar, controllable role. He's testing the boundaries. He's furiously pushing the old buttons, hoping for a predictable reaction. But the buttons no longer work. You don't react. You observe. Stage 3. Anxiety and obsessive curiosity. And this is where it gets really interesting. His tactics have failed. His annoyance is replaced by a growing anxiety, and then by an all-consuming curiosity. What is going on? What's changed about her? Why isn't she running to me anymore? Is there someone else? His brain, accustomed to a certain pattern, starts working overtime. He turns into a detective. He analyzes your last conversations. He replays moments in his head that he never noticed before. He starts checking your social media not for control, but for clues. You've gone from being a book he's already read to a gripping, unpredictable thriller. He doesn't know what's on the next page, and it's driving him crazy. Stage 4. Idealization and nostalgia. The psyche abhors a vacuum, and in the void your absence has created, his imagination begins to paint a new, enhanced portrait of you. He forgets your flaws, and at times you are too needy. He remembers your smile, your laugh, your wisdom, your kindness. Everything he took for granted now acquires incredible value in his eyes. He begins to truly miss you. But this is no longer the boredom of convenience. This is a sharp, almost physical nostalgia for something authentic, vibrant, and real. Jung would say that at this moment, an inversion of projection occurs. Before, he projected his need onto you. Now, he begins to project his dream onto you. You become a symbol for him of the very wholeness he lacks, of the very freedom that he may secretly fear, but which his soul unconsciously craves. And so the boomerang completes its flight. He begins to act. He seeks you out. He makes a real effort. He tries to solve the mystery of you. But he no longer comes as the master of the situation, who knows he is awaited with open arms. He comes as a student, a supplicant, as a man who has suddenly seen a woman in possession of her own shining kingdom and desperately wants at least a residence permit. And now, the choice is yours, to let him in or not. But you make this choice from a position of strength, not need, from a state of fullness, not hunger. You are not afraid of losing him, because you have already found yourself. And that changes absolutely everything. Because a relationship that begins from this point has a chance to become not another drama of addiction, but a union of two free, powerful individuals. And all of this was only possible because one day you found the courage to take a step back. Not from him, but toward yourself. It's crucial to understand. This boomerang effect is not a one-time trick. It's not a pill you can take for a permanent result. It is a new way of life. It is the constant, daily maintenance of your inner center, your throne. Many women, after achieving the desired result, his return and heightened attention, make a fatal mistake. They relax and slide back into the old, comfortable patterns. They become too available again. They start to dissolve in him again. They hand him back the remote control to their emotions. And the boomerang, having just returned to their hand, flies off again. The cycle repeats, but each time it becomes more painful and humiliating. The true mastery of correct distancing lies in making it your essence, your second nature. This means, 1. Have your own life, always. Your hobbies, your friends, your career, your spiritual growth. These are not things you do to pass the time while he's not around. They are an integral, sacred part of your identity. This is your kingdom, your throne, and you must never step down from it to sit on a folding chair next to his. He can be invited into your kingdom as an honored guest, but never as its sole ruler. 2. Maintain emotional sovereignty. His bad mood should not automatically ruin your day. His problems should not, by default, become your problems. You can empathize, support, be there, but you must not drown with him. You are a lighthouse, not another sinking ship. A lighthouse shines steadily from the shore. It doesn't hurl itself into the storm to be smashed on the rocks. 3. Do not fear silence and pauses. In healthy, living relationships, there will always be cycles of closeness and distance. It's natural. You don't need to frantically fill every pause with busyness, meaningless chatter, or worse, interrogations. You're quiet. Did something happen? Don't you love me anymore? Learn to enjoy these pauses. This is the time when the relationship breathes. Allow this breath to be natural. Depth is born in this silence. 4. Value your energy as a sacred resource. You are not an infinite nuclear reactor. Your energy, your attention, your time, this is the most valuable currency you possess. Learn to say a firm no when you are tired. Learn to choose yourself when you need to recharge. A woman who respects her own resources and boundaries commands a deep, unconscious respect from a man. He intuitively understands that her time and attention are a precious gift to be earned, not something that can be claimed on demand. When you live by these principles, the boomerang effect becomes your natural gravity. You no longer need to apply a technique. You yourself become this force. Your energy field is so strong, stable, and self-sufficient that it holds him not by fear of loss, but by a sincere admiration for your wholeness. Carl Jung said that the ultimate goal of individuation is not dependence nor cold independence, but mature interdependence. It is a sacred union where two strong, whole people choose to be together, not because they can't live without each other, but because together they create something greater than the sum of their parts. But you can only arrive at this interdependence through a stage of healthy, conscious, unshakable independence. This is exactly what you are doing when you distance correctly. You are building your independence. You are becoming that whole person with whom a true, deep union is even possible. You stop being a half looking for another half. You become a universe inviting another universe to visit. And believe me, that is an invitation that is impossible to refuse. It is an attraction that does not weaken over time, but only intensifies, because it is based not on superficial passion or convenience, but on a deep, infinite respect for the mystery of another person. And your greatest mystery is your own. Rich and self-sufficient inner world. So the next time you feel that familiar, anxious impulse to send him the 5th text in a row, when you want to cancel your important plans for his sudden, non-essential suggestion, when you catch yourself with your whole life on pause, anxiously awaiting his call or decision stop, freeze for a moment, take a deep, slow breath, and ask yourself, what can I do right now? Not for him, but for myself. How can I bring the boomerang of my precious energy back to me? Maybe it will be a walk alone with music that makes your soul sing. Maybe it will be a call to an old friend with whom you can talk not about him, but about eternity. Maybe you will finally sign up for those Argentine tango or Italian language classes you've been dreaming about. Any action, no matter how small, that returns the focus of attention from him to you is a correct, sacred step. The world will try again and again to convince you that you should be convenient, available, and predictable. Your own well-trained. Fear will whisper that by letting go of control, you will lose everything. But deep inside, your soul knows the truth. It has always known. It knows that true power lies in stillness. True attraction lies in self-sufficiency. And true love is the kind that does not require you to abandon yourself. This is not a path for everyone. It requires courage, patience, and immense faith. But if something inside you has resonated with these words, if you have felt a spark of recognition and a bitter truth, it means you are ready. You are ready to stop being an echo and become a voice. To stop being a reflection and become a light. You are ready to experience firsthand the great, transformative magic of the boomerang effect. And remember, the further you are from your old, anxious, needy version of yourself, the more powerfully he and the entire world will want to be closer to the new, whole, calm, and free woman you are becoming. This isn't a promise. It's a law of the universe, a law of the soul. If this message found you at the right moment, if it ignited a spark of recognition and resolve within you, do not keep it to yourself. Share this video with a woman who needs to hear this right now. Give it a like, not as an automatic action, but as a sign that you are accepting this truth into your heart. And write the keyword boomerang in the comments as a declaration to your subconscious. as a promise to yourself that you are stepping onto this path consciously. Subscribe to the channel so that we can continue this journey into the depths of psychology and the soul together. Because every word here isn't just information, it's a ritual of returning to yourself.